This conference will now be recorded.
The Parks Committee for the Town of Cottage Grove will hold a public meeting on Tuesday, May 24th, 2022, 7 p.m. at the Town Hall. You can also join by go to meeting. We have a quorum present. The meeting was posted at the Town Hall and on the website. Let's start with introductions. It's been a while. Linda, do you want to start?
I'm Linda Finder.
Dan Drazen, Highway Superintendent.
Chris Hampton, Town Chairman.
Carrie Robbins, resident.
Ron Daggett, resident and new to the board.
Kim Bannigan, the clerk.
Who do we have online?
Jason Bree is on the online, he's one of the committee members.
I am present.
All right. Call the meeting to order. We have the minutes of the May 12th, 21 was in your pack.
I'd like to move approval of the minutes as presented. And I'll second that.
Motion and a second to approve the minutes as presented. Is there any discussion on the minutes? Hearing none, all in favor signify by saying aye.
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 Opposed, same sign. Abstentions. Motion carried. Review and make recommendations based on the park shelter survey results.
So some of you may have looked at the results actually online, and then I also summarized them in this document, so you would have a hard copy.
Yeah. We had 55 people that responded, right?
I think that was a pretty good response. More than would show up.
Yeah.
So
Through,
we've got some people weighing in.
I was happy to read some of the responses of, thank you for asking us. You know, I thought that was pretty good.
Yeah. Chris, are you looking for kind of reactions to what we're seeing here and
Yeah.
maybe suggestions of what to do?
yeah,
If you don't mind, I'll just jump in with something.
if we should do something or not.
It's one of the things that strikes me in looking at this. Last year in this meeting, we talked about the possibility of adding a shelter here behind Town Hall.
Mhm.
And so I really appreciated the follow-up and getting this so we have a little data to work with. And I'm immediately happy to see that we aren't in a situation where lots of people are opposed to it. So I feel confident we could continue to explore this without riling up people or getting them upset,
Mhm.
which is like first do no harm. So then second, I'm also noticing in the kind of verbatim comments, some reasons that people are giving for why they would make use of a facility if we had an expanded facility here. And they all are supporting reasons that I feel good about, giving people a place to gather, have family activities. I mean, that's what we are about. So
Right.
to me, I saw this as a really positive step towards proceeding, and I'd be in favor of us continuing to take the next steps down this path of thinking about what could that be like? What do other communities have that we might want to benchmark against? What kind of costs are we talking about? I mean, so putting this on maybe like a 3-year or 4-year kind of plan, if we only meet once a year, maybe we could use this next year to sort of think about what would be the next step.
Well, we'll probably meet again yet this year prior to budget so that we could, if we're going to do something like that, we can put it in
Great.
next year's budget.
Great, because I would be absolutely in favor of proceeding to continue to talk about something specifically behind the Town Hall here, based on this.
And any other comments? There are a lot of different designs and styles. I have no idea what anyone would like, but do you want to bring up what Lee has?
Well, so they have these are more their shades and shelters, but then there was a Google search that had a lot. Is that more what you were looking at? Like these?
Yeah.
Yeah. That was just a park shelter design search that came up.
You know, I wasn't sure, do we just want a cement slab with a roof on it?
I think one of the comments was, you know, a pole building isn't really all that attractive. I mean,
Right.
it's functional, but it's not attractive. Whereas something along the line of this, you know, gazebo type thing, or to make it look a little, those are amazing, but I'm sure
Yeah.
they cost an arm and a leg. But
Right.
to make it unusual would be kind of neat.
They do make some nice timber frame in Sauk County, and I'm thinking it's Baraboo, a company out of Baraboo. I'd have to look up the name of them. But they have some really neat designs. It just all depends on size. But, you know,
If you think of their name, send it to Kim so we can look at it.
yeah, I can see if I can get a brochure as well.
Okay,
Hello.
Second what Linda said too. Sorry, go ahead.
go ahead.
So this is Dave Dinko, and in the village of Deerfield, there's a guy named Cal Couillard of the Couillard Solar Foundation, who is actually a Cottage Grove resident, who made just a gorgeous gazebo or pergola and used a bifacial solar panel for the upper story of it. He also, right next to the fire station in Deerfield, is just installing a 2,000 square foot pavilion with a solar panel roof. And again, it's bifacial, so it's not like when you're down below looking up, you see a white ceiling, you actually see through the panel. A bifacial panel, solar panel, provides electric power from the top, and then also the sunlight that bounces off of the bottom. So when you have, or off of the ground and then comes up and hits the panel. And so if you have a concrete base floor, it works real nice. And the one in by the fire station in Deerfield, that literally, I think they were just putting the last panels in place today, is actually a timber frame building, and it's done with all pegs, the old barn style way of doing it. There's no nails or anything. So you should when you want to come out and see Deerfield, we'll get you looking at that. And then you would have, if you're in proximity to your village hall or other municipal buildings, you'd have solar power that would do your utilities for your building, which is pretty cool.
Okay,
I'll get you more info. Thanks.
thank you.
There might be grant funding available to support that kind of solar power thing. I don't know exactly the details, but I know the school district just recently installed some solar array and they've got it funded. It wasn't out of pocket. So
Mhm.
that's an exciting possibility maybe.
We have met with solar people that they look for a business that can set up an LLC and take the tax credit
Mhm.
that you get,
Mhm.
and then fund the solar array.
Could a 501c3 nonprofit fill that role? I'm thinking of the Cottage Grove Community Foundation
I don't
immediately.
know.
They're looking for projects. We've talked about that before. And so like that might be a great partnership if we needed a different entity besides the town government.
Our other option is we still have money available from COVID that we could use.
Cool. What Linda said a minute ago, I wanted to echo and agree with, because I think a photogenic spot was coming through in some of the survey comments. Several people mentioning if we had a distinctive town of Cottage Grove thing.
Mhm.
So I really kind of encourage that there's ideas about how we could make something unique to us. Certainly more visually interesting as a place that would be identifiable would be
Right.
really fun to drag people over for the backdrop of photos. And some of the comments were saying things like, place for a special family event.
Mhm.
So a little bit different style of design than out of the catalog. This is
You could do
standard.
something,
I think
I'm
we
just
could do
thinking about
something
how popular these barn boards are. If you could do something barn looking, where the timbers are like Dave said, the peg and pegs instead of the normal construction, but something barn-like would be really cool back here.
Yeah, I don't know if everybody taking down a barn this year,
Yeah, there you go.
that we could
Get the wood from, but
scavenge the
something with
timbers
that
from.
look to it,
Yeah.
more of a farmstead kind of a.
Who knows, maybe somebody park a couple horses there.
Yeah, I think when the gas gets high around, put a stall and then ride one down.
Chris, when you mentioned that about someone, I mean, we need some lead time anyway, so it would be
Right.
more like someone within the next few years, not the next few weeks. So we might have time to
Yeah.
identify a partner that would be willing to work with us on it. Because I really like that idea too. Something fun that you wouldn't just see anywhere that you can't just go and make. Yeah.
It'd be a good photo op, that's for sure.
Basic size of a structure, what do you foresee for a size?
What did you think based on the survey results of what people are saying they're looking to do in it? Because I think that would drive this, like, what is it going to be used for? And if it's going to be used for gatherings bigger than you can do in your backyard, for example. Now last year for our graduation party for my son, we rented a 40 by 40 tent. That was in the backyard, and I was just praying they weren't going to hit the septic system or anything else.
Yeah.
And they put it in. We had enough room, thank God, but we had enough room for it. So when you say that size, I'm like, well, how big are the town backyards? And what's bigger than that, I think is the starting point I would ask.
Mm-hmm.
So that it'd be worth coming over here to do it instead of where you already live. So I don't know, what size is coming to your mind or what? No
Off
idea.
the top of my head, I was probably thinking 20 or 30 feet by 40.
Yeah, right?
I mean, so that you could get picnic tables in there.
Yes. I'm with you on that. I think that's a decent size. It could still be architecturally really interesting and pretty to do and not start to look like a airplane hangar.
Yeah.
So then
I would think 6 to 8 picnic tables would probably be, approximately, with a little extra room maybe for a buffet table or something if they brought a collapsible table.
Might be a
Sure.
little on the small side. 8 picnic tables with 8 people at each is still only 50 to 70 people. And you
Yeah.
talk about a party of 100 people, you'd outgrow it. So I think maybe a little bigger than you're thinking. Minimum of 10 tables, maybe, minimum 12 tables would be good.
20 by 40 is 800 square feet. So
Seems good.
we need to look and find the CSM for our lot here
Mhm.
and then look to see where we could fit it in because we would have to go to zoning and get a zoning permit.
Right, well, and you still got a soccer field back here, and I would
Right.
think that you'd also maybe want to put then some priority on getting a playground structure back here too. So that if you had a party here, there'd be a place for kids to play.
You're also gonna have to look at the restroom issue with something that size.
Mhm. Yeah,
The playground structure idea might be something, again, back to the Cottage Grove Community Foundation. What are the kinds of things that would be project-based that we could get community support to rally around if it was beyond one budget cycle or something like that? Because some of them are quite spendy.
yeah. You can
They're
get
really
some
cool ones.
Neat
you know.
theme-based ones. Dan and I were looking like there's farm-based or fire truck-based ones, so either one of those would
Yeah.
be kind of cool, right?
Right here.
Yeah.
It's something unique here that would be worth bringing little guys here to play
Yeah.
with.
Yeah.
I had an idea on that. I've been thinking about the restroom thing too, since we're kind of septic / village. We can always put them inside the lower part of the building here and have the doors accessible back there. Then they're actually in the main, they're in this building, but they're accessible from outside, not inside.
Mhm.
You're saying add bathrooms downstairs?
Well, like downstairs below us here is like a garage area,
Right.
and there might be room towards the hallways to put in, toilet sink,
Oh,
for men's and women's.
that'd be awesome. And now you can charge money to rent the thing. Now you have an actual space where people would be like, okay, this is an awesome alternative.
Just have outside entrance.
Yep.
Yeah.
Outside only, yep. And then we'd give the key out for that, like you do for the hall.
Right.
So if they rent it, they get access to the restrooms.
Yeah, so it's not open all the time.
Yeah.
for-
Yep. Yeah,
Trouble.
we don't need vandalism stuff.
No.
Not during soccer some Saturdays.
Um,
You know, they're set up now too is, you can set them up for Wi-Fi or for,
Yeah,
and there's a set, you can time them
yeah,
on when they open, when they close.
yeah, yeah. Door locks, yeah, that'd be
Yeah.
great. Yeah, that'd be a good idea.
I had done one of those not too long ago,
Yeah.
so
cool.
Okay.
it just takes away the aspect of having someone there to go and unlock them or lock them at
Mhm.
the end of the day.
They don't
Yeah.
lock anybody in, do they?
I think you can get out, but once you lock, you can't get back in.
That'd be my luck.
Now you can get out, but you can't get in.
Yeah. Yeah, we rent a sports facility that's that way.
Okay.
The doors unlock for us, and then once we're in there, then they lock, and then when you leave, you leave.
Right.
It's locked behind you, so. I've been thinking about that. It'd be probably the easiest for here, you know, most cost effective.
Break up a little cement.
Yeah, I mean, it'd be a lot less work than having to put something out there and running stuff back to the building, you know.
So are already bathrooms in the basement?
No,
No.
there's up here.
Okay.
There's no, well, all of our plumbing's in the basement, but
You couldn't go from that structure directly to the old tank that gets pumped up.
well, we'd have to run water out there though. You have water in the building. I think it'd be easier.
To do it in here.
Yeah, more cost effective, because then you could put lift toilets in too. You wouldn't even have to put them in the concrete. They make commercial ones now that actually pump it vertical, pump it up into the pipes.
Mm-hmm.
Here's the CSM. We can get it to show up good enough here. About this.
That would be ideal, I think.
I mean, it'd be the easiest. I mean, we could get power to the structure. That's pretty easy, but when you're talking water, then you gotta insulate that line and, or we have to flush it every year.
Yeah. Leave it in this building and you don't have to.
Worry about that stuff.
Are there any other functions that happen in this building downstairs? I mean, we used to store library books so long ago down there and stuff.
Yeah,
but
it's
There'd be no other
It's
use.
all storage.
storage
Mhm.
It's pretty much all.
and the furnace water softener.
So-
American Legion still has a
Yeah.
And historical
and
has it.
historical.
So anyway, here's the CSM. You probably can't see anything. I can't even read the numbers on it from here, but I don't know what that, let's see, former lot boundary. Oh, okay. Former lot boundary. So there must have been several. Those dashed lines in the middle, those are all former lot boundaries. I don't know what that's all about. But anyway, the soccer field, of course, is back here. So yeah, that would be the tricky part, is where is the right place for it?
Mm-hmm.
You'd have to follow your setbacks from the lot line. And actually, I don't know.
Because you probably don't want to put it on the north end.
No.
You'd want it on the south end.
You want where all your parking is.
Mhm, mhm.
Yeah, maybe you take out some of the parking lot.
I actually thought about what if you put it like right out here.
Security wise, it'd be nice to have it over here because you can see it from the road,
Yeah,
you know, versus being right behind the building.
Yeah.
because the soccer field is never placed real well. Like, you know, soccer field can even be moved down a little further.
To the north.
Yeah,
They don't use all that space. It's
Yeah.
only a small portion of it, really.
Because I think that lot line for the fire station is between our two parking lots somewhere.
Yeah, it's about halfway, I think.
Yeah.
Where the power pole is up here. That's what we mow off of.
running straight back east. And you have that outlet for their drainage that comes out there too, that we'd have to stay away from.
You have to stay this way
Yeah,
towards the parking lot from that. Yeah.
okay. We have a few things to work on then.
Awesome.
Yeah, 'cause you probably have 80 to 100 feet to that drain to the parking lot. At least,
Well, it's way down there.
yeah.
So, okay, we'll work on those and try and report back at our next meeting.
Awesome.
So we're gonna work on the location, and
Location,
the idea of restrooms down below.
give that to him. We'll try and find something that looks like an old barn style design to see what kind of costs that would be.
Awesome. Well, I'm definitely going to run over to the fire station in Deerfield and take a look at that structure
Yeah,
that Dave was talking about. So
Linda, if you do that, do you mind sharing a photo with us?
sure.
Because I'm kind of curious about it too, and I might check out there, or might not get to it before you do.
Okay, I'll give it a try.
okay.
So if you did restrooms downstairs, you wouldn't need any water or anything in that, really.
No,
So that would save some trouble, probably, and I don't know if you would need any electricity. Maybe you probably would want that for
Lighting.
plugging in crock pots and stuff. if
right,
people were in
coffee
there.
maker or whatever.
Lots of circuits, more than one circuit.
Yeah.
Usually,
Music.
that's the trouble with people that rent here is everything's on the same.
You probably want to put a sub panel out there for that
Yeah.
one.
At the same time, you want to run low voltage too in case down the road, you want to go ahead and do something with the electronic latches and stuff. That way it's already in the wall.
Mhm.
It'd be a lot cheaper than trying to build something new and then running lines.
After the fact,
Right.
yeah. Okay,
There were a couple other things that jumped out to me in the notes, and then also
Sure.
we got this sweet note from a resident in our district who identifies as a fifth grader.
Yeah.
So I was like, oh, I want to talk about that when we meet, because I mean, how often are we going to get a personal appeal? And I did see in the notes that there were others who expressed interest also. So the request that we got about the zip line kind of play structure element in Bass Park. I'm just curious to learn a little bit more about the process. When I toured the parks last year, I saw we have a zip line in one of the parks. And so I don't have any sense of how expensive it was, how many years it takes to get the money, if this is something that's even feasible before this fifth grader graduates high school, or like, you know, how would this even, if we did want to entertain this, what would
it's
that
about
even look like?
$18,000
Great.
for the biggest one.
Okay,
Do you want to hold that and talk about that with the budget discussion,
sure,
the capital expenditure, and finish up with your park shelter?
Okay,
sure.
well, do we have anything else on park shelter survey results and what we're going to look at the electrical, the look of it, the size, and if what we can do with bathrooms maybe down here? Anything else?
No, one question I have is, and it's more or less, do we know how much the one is utilized over there at Bass Park?
Is it blind?
No, the
No.
shelter.
Park shelter.
The Bass Park shelter. I didn't see during the day, so there's not many people there, but
Yeah,
Right. I mean, nothing was said, I didn't see anything in the survey about it.
yeah.
So I was just
And
curious.
And that's the only one that we have.
Right.
And
It's been there a long time.
yeah, a very long time. We did replace the roof on it here a couple years ago, but that was in painted.
Painted it, yeah.
So I really have no idea how often it's
Right.
ever used or if it is.
Okay. It looks, what is it, roughly a 20 by
What's
16 by 20 or
That one's tiny.
20 by 24?
Yeah, maybe. I
Okay.
would say it's pretty square. It's not much longer than this wide. So
Right.
Yeah,
it's actually just going on the cover here.
Yeah. Yep.
Yeah, I mean, those are probably, it
8
is,
feet apart.
it's probably 15 by 20. It probably is. Pretty close to that.
And,
Maybe 16 by 20.
the other thing is, if we want to just look at a shelter for utilizing solar, this might be, since it's already there, set up lights for it, solar lights in it with panels. Might be an idea.
Okay. Anything else on shelters?
And then a shelter thing, when Kim mentioned a little bit ago about music, it got me thinking, what else goes on at parties? And at many of the graduation parties and things I've been at, there's a desire to project either movie clips, like, I mean, home movie kind of videos or slideshows of photos and that kind of thing. So some wall space where if you brought your own projection equipment, you could show something, I think. I don't think we need to provide a screen, you know, of that the way it would be indoors, but even in an outdoor setting, it's kind of fun to have some multimedia element like that.
Something that would be out of the glare of the sun. in
That's
other
it.
words.
That's
Yeah.
where a shelter works really nice instead of just the side wall of
Yeah.
whatever other structure.
Some
So-
darker corner or something
Uh-huh.
where you could.
Which kind of lends itself, instead of having completely open on all four sides, having at least one wall somewhere. I don't know exactly what that would be like, but just if you built that into the design, I think it would get used by people who would say, oh, good, there's a display space for whatever it is we want. Even kind of other meetings that need to project something from time to time. I just don't, I'm just thinking up front, what else would the uses be from what people are saying when they say a reunion? That's another, someone mentioned that. I thought, oh, you have a reunion, you want to see photos or something like that.
We have north, south, east, and west. So which wall would you want to do?
Right. And so this is left to someone smarter than me because I know people care very passionately about which orientation of baseball diamond faces and all that. I mean, I know that there's people who know about that, but if we know that's a need, I guess I would just throw that out at this point. You should be thinking about
There's
it.
but there's no view to the west, so you wouldn't be blocking any view if you put it like the half of the west wall or something,
Yeah.
you know, I mean, you'd be blocking the view on the east if you.
The only thing it would block is if the police were driving by seeing if anybody was out.
Like in this
Yeah.
setting, you'd have the east wall because your parking lot's to the west,
Yeah,
everything, you know what I mean?
and maybe you wouldn't do the whole wall either, you know, maybe you just do half, one side or something, so like I said, there's kind
One
of. a corner.
section.
Yeah,
Yeah. And it certainly doesn't have to be knees down. I mean, but something where if you wanted to push something out there, there's a place
or
to watch
even
it.
just to put up a board of pictures or something, if it was like a graduation party and something that wouldn't be in the wind, you know?
Yes. It's what everyone's doing right now.
Yeah.
They need a place to display something.
Yeah.
And if you build it into design from the get-go, I think it would be used.
Okay.
It was really fun to see all the comments. So people have a lot of suggestions of what they would use the space for, and that's fun to see.
Okay.
So Kim, thanks for your work doing this.
Yeah.
Recommendations for the 2022 capital improvements.
Yeah,
You
so
want to talk about, there's that zip line?
if you remember from your budget, you budgeted 20, you asked for 25,000 this year, 5 for maintenance and 15 for capital expenditures. And so that could either be used this year or carried forward into the future. So, you know, there is some money if you wanted to do something this year or send it forward and maybe have some more to add to it.
Or else we ask the town board to use some of the COVID money.
Right, because that does seem to be able to be used for
Right.
that kind of a thing.
And the Granger purchases were bearings for merry-go-round that we fixed this year that are on there.
Yeah, so far, all they've done are some hardware and bearings and
They were huge. They're like,
Are they?
yeah,
weed and feed.
And we're gonna plant some trees.
we're gonna do trees yet. Yeah, we gotta kind of decide how many we wanna do of those too. We did what, 6 last year?
I don't,
Or was it 8? 4 and 4? 4 maple, 4 oak.
it could have been.
Where do you get your trees from?
McKay's.
McKay and Waterloo.
Larry Berg works for them. He lives here in the township.
Well, not anymore.
Doesn't he?
No, he moved to Sun Prairie, but he still handles us as his client.
Yeah, he doesn't live in a Humboldt anymore, huh?
No, so everybody know what a zip line looks like?
Yeah, thank you.
Here's the pictures.
We've used the one when we did our tour of all the parks last year. My husband and I hopped on the one and tried it out. And I actually said to him, we don't want to be the people who are written up in the news for the injuries resulting from this.
The broken arm or
My
leg.
God. It was fun though.
Just similar to what was put down at Capitol View.
Yes.
Yeah, I think the one down there is the 100-footer
94.
or 94, yeah.
Yeah.
The one in the village is a shorter one. I don't know if you've ever seen the one in the village.
Mm.
Can't think of the name of it. It's just down from the village hall.
Mhm.
That one's a shorter one.
Is that up behind me?
Yeah.
Because that's what it sounds like is going on up there.
And then it hits, yeah.
Didn't know that was a zip line though.
What I really liked about receiving this request individually is nice opportunity to show how the process works in terms of engagement and knowing the process, and you have to email and then you get a response and then it takes a while, but it'd be nice to walk through that in this example, if it's in proportion to what we would be able to afford to do and how that works. I don't know about that. There were a couple other things that showed up in the survey results of items that people were requesting, but some of those items require additional maintenance and that kind of thing. And so that's, again, I don't really know. It's not just installing this thing, it's also, can we afford the upkeep over time? And I don't know what's involved with that if in this particular case, or if that's kind of minimal. Just curious if that's something we have to even think about.
At some point, we have to think about maintenance.
Yeah, but not at the point where it would hold us back from doing something like
No.
this, right? So I was in favor of getting back to Mr. McHone, Mr. Isaac, the 5th grader, and saying, we considered your request and it echoed what we heard in the survey results, and we'd be happy to start taking the next steps on that and thinking about whether we can afford it in our budget this year.
Well,
So,
like Kim said, we had 15 in it for capital, and if we go with the one like we had, it's 17.
Who installed the one?
The residents.
Oh, the residents did. So that saves some money right there.
Yeah,
Maybe he can help.
just thinking the same thing. Too bad it's not a high school kid who could organize a little more of a
Those Eagle Scouts.
It's that kind of project. Yeah, that would be great.
I don't know, I mean, that didn't go real smooth last time.
no, I would think we would either want you to install it or we want Lee to install it.
Okay.
Just to get it done as soon as it becomes available. And I don't know what the availability is on it, but I guess my suggestion would be for someone here to make a motion that we spend the money to buy the $17,001 zip line and ask the town board for the additional 2,000 to come from somewhere. So that it could get done maybe yet this year.
Yeah, so moved. Let's do that.
I'll second that.
That was your motion and you
Yeah,
second.
yeah,
Okay.
thank you, yeah.
Would some of the COVID money work for that?
That's what I would suggest, that they take $2,000,
Or
2,000, or
Whatever it takes.
whatever
Right.
we need to get that piece and get it installed, to take that from the COVID money and use it yet this year.
Great.
So there was a motion and a second. Discussion on that motion? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed? Motion carried. So Kim will put that on for our June 6th meeting.
I'm just worried that this young man is going to think that this is the way government works.
What a great introduction to getting a new piece of playground equipment in the neighborhood.
Oh, yeah, just right
Yeah,
away.
right away. Just asked him and then it appeared. Asked at the right time, the right people with the right request.
I mean, that's a good park to put one
It
in.
is a good park. It's got a lot of space.
Yeah,
And is there kids up there?
Yeah.
That one's kind of, that
It's
neighborhood
turned.
kind of turned, hasn't it?
Mhm.
yeah.
It's starting to, yeah, especially with that new addition to Bass,
Mhm.
Mm-hmm. Denny's edition.
although they're closer probably to their park, but
Yeah, 6 1/2
I
dozen
don't
of
think it's
another.
that much different.
it's not a far walk.
You want to walk uphill or not?
Yeah.
Anything else that,
Are there park funds from that subdivision that went in up there on Bath as part of the development, or no?
About park funds. And that's the other thing we do have is we have some funds from new homes
New
that have been built.
yeah,
A lot of what we have though currently is from the Kennedy Hills subdivision, and until that subdivision is finalized, we're not going to be sure if we keep all those funds or not.
right.
So we probably can't get too carried away spending that, but we will have to spend some of that in the upcoming years.
Yeah, we've got,
Is there any from the new Bass subdivision?
No, because
No,
that
that
was
came in before.
before we implemented
okay.
this park thing, and so he actually gave money, and that was already used for,
That equipment at capital.
yeah, right, that's right, that was already used. So no, there isn't, but it also now comes from lots that are not in subdivisions, and so we've had a few of those trickle in, so there's a little bit of money in there, but like I said, most of it is, we're still waiting for the Kennedy Hills subdivision to close.
Anything else on capital improvements?
One of the comments in here mentioned Frisbee, and it immediately got me thinking about disc golf baskets, which, I mean, for backyard use, they're like $75 or $100. They're not expensive. But I think if you were going to use them and install 1 or 3 anywhere, now you're talking about making it so people don't just like lift it and carry it off. So there'd have to be some additional, I'm not sure what, to make it a permanently
Permanent.
installed thing. But because my 19-year-old son and all of his friends spend all their time disc golfing now, I'm newly acquainted with
Oh, yeah.
that.
I don't think I've ever seen one put in, so.
It's
I
I
think they're
mean,
just setting concrete.
Concrete.
Right, but usually they're set up through some type of wooded course a lot of times.
yes, so the
So-
Door Creek, and there's some other courses that just have like
Right.
baskets hanging around for putting practice.
Yeah.
The downside that I can attest to, having one in my backyard right now, is the constant clinking of the chains when you hear a disc hitting the, but you know where your kid is because you can hear the.
Yeah.
So I just mentioned that because that's a fairly inexpensive little recreation piece to add. And you have to bring your own discs to use
Right.
with it. And so I don't know enough about our spaces though, but what you need for it and why we're outgrowing our backyard, because I don't want any of that thrown towards my house. glass windows. And so you need an open enough space, even if you're putting practice, it still might be 100 yards or something. I mean, so I saw Frisbee in here and I thought, aha.
The old Capitol or American Heritage Park that's now the,
Dan Johnson,
Yeah, that's
Yeah,
what I pictured.
that one,
the back area,
yeah,
Is that utilized for much?
just open space,
no,
Okay.
2 acres of, well, 3 actually, almost 3 acres of open space.
yeah.
Is it wooded or is it?
No, it's wide open.
It's wide open. There's one stone in the center that
About
comes
the
up.
size of this room.
Yeah.
That was something a few people said that they liked having open spaces. That was in reaction to the park shelter. I read the comments that were like, well, don't fill up all the open spaces. And so disc golf actually does require an open space. So kind of goes with what people wanted to protect in a few areas.
So this is called disc golf.
Yeah, I mean, you could say Frisbee golf and then,
Oh.
you know, they would kind of say, it's not Frisbees,
Oh,
it's discs. But that, Linda,
Big
that's
difference.
super, I know, that's like, right? That's, otherwise I would say Frisbee golf. But it's amazing how popular that has become in that age range, which is maybe a little bit different demographic than the younger kids playing on the playground equipment. So if we were
Zip
looking for
line.
that kind of stuff and zip line, yeah. So maybe something else to think about if we,
Are they
Had
called
space.
baskets or what are they
yep,
called?
that's exactly it. And you'll recognize a disc golf basket, DISC disc,
They don't show
because they
them
have the
here.
chains. And I think there's some with 16 chains, some with 24 chains. I wish I didn't know this. But I think there's different specifications for,
Yeah, but they don't, doesn't look like they offer those.
So they range from like 500 to 300.
you're probably looking at a better quality one than the one we picked up at Costco. But yes, I think they're affordable.
Veteran basket disc golf target.
Sweet.
Patriot makes one too. They're like $500 for the commercial.
Each.
Mhm.
You're definitely getting a better quality one than a home use one. But
Yeah.
that's probably what we would need. I mean,
Yeah, these ones are ones you put in the ground. It says, the other ones have like a stand.
For some reason, I think there is a course off of Milwaukee Street on that.
High
old
Stand
lake.
Park,
Yeah,
my son's
right
there
up
all
hill.
the time.
I'm aging myself.
No, but that's it. That's where they
Yeah,
are.
okay.
And
Yep.
nearby there is Glide, which is the little store that sells discs and returns lost discs to their owners. If you are smart enough to put your cell phone number on yours. I wish I didn't know all this. But
Yeah.
it's a very kind of current activity now.
Yeah, and it seems like it's a lot of high school kids.
It is. There's a disc golf club. Started at the high school a few
Probably
years
the
ago.
biggest area that
It was very
we have.
COVID friendly, so
We
something
have
people were out
one,
doing.
Something like that, isn't it?
Yep.
You can get them
And
all
you get
great.
good at it, like any golf thing, you get hooked.
$600.
So they're out there trying to get their little scores. and all
9
that.
for 3,600.
Or you can just buy a couple.
So how many do you need?
I mean, 1 for putting practice, 2 if you wanted to then have them so that you could go back to where you started from. I mean, otherwise you just throw it one direction and then you have to try. But I think a high
Do you have
stand
a
or
friend
other
that could
places have like
design one
9.
for?
I know a guy.
You know that?
I don't know any of the technical things everyone else at the table knows, but I do know how people like to play. And so it would be the owner of Glide. I mean, the little store is right by High Stand Park there, who would know everything about this and what you'd need to set up something. The other place they all go over to is Elver Park. Because Elver's got them set up and they're trekking over to the west side to do that. So it'd be lovely if we had something here in town.
Because eventually we'll have parking out at that park.
Where is it that you're looking at for this? What area?
So Senior Dan Johnson Park,
Oh, okay.
there's a back area that's wide open behind the houses there, between the houses and the cornfield. It's a little over 2 acres, I bet.
Yeah, something too you can add to, you
That's right,
can start with a couple and
totally.
add to it to create your course. Might be a place to throw some of those trees.
Yeah, we're trying not to fill that park up too much because there's 3 soccer fields up that park too.
Yeah.
And
They
the
don't
trees
use
are
that
nice for the
back.
shade. No, they don't use the back
Because
there
it's
because it's a
slow.
big rock.
And it
Yeah,
slow-
yeah,
and
it
it
slopes a
slopes
little
down.
Yeah.
To your question about like who could advise us about this though, I only know his first name, which is Mike, and he owns the disc golf store, the supplies and all the stuff. That's right by High Stand Park. Name of the store is Glide. So I've been in there retrieving lost discs for my son. So I think Mike would be the first person to call and say, what would you suggest? He has a business incentive to get more people playing, selling discs. So I'm sure he would return your call.
Okay,
They didn't have them in here.
no. They had, in the very back, under sporting goods, they had basketball, funnel ball, soccer goals, tetherball, volleyball, but they didn't have any discs.
Sounds like something I want to learn how to do.
It's oddly addictive. Because you're like, this is so easy. Like, we play all this backyard.
And then you
games.
lose your disc.
And there he goes.
Catches the wind and it's over the fence.
And then we're trying to get it back.
As the dog's looking at you.
Totally. It's totally that. And I think the other place, Yahara Hills, has a course set up for
Mhm.
disc in the off season from golf, and so many water hazards. So I think that they take like a kayak out there and then dredge them all up. And so I guess that would be one thing to consider with the location, is just thinking about the nearby buffer zone.
Yeah, you don't want them to go out.
I
in the
mean,
woods. Yeah.
it's just
Right.
not a huge area, because if you're putting, it's not as bad, but that is a thing. Again, to my backyard issue. A little more space than that. But I think it'd be great use of the parks if we could afford to do something like that. I promise that's all I'm gonna say. But I thought it was really great to have the survey results and have some things mentioned.
Hi, can y'all hear me?
It'd be nice to get some different things to see how much they're really utilized, to see if, well, maybe we want to expand and put it in another park.
Hi, is my audio coming through? Can y'all hear me?
Yeah,
Hi, I'm dialed in on the phone. Sorry, I couldn't be there in person. My name is Jared Boucher. I'd like to digress, if we could, for a moment. You mentioned back when we were talking about the park plan, you mentioned Kennedy Hills, and it sounded like some funds that were potentially allocated either from that project or for that project. Would you mind going back to the details of that quickly?
Any new lot that's developed in the town since, I don't know, 3 years ago, when a new ordinance was
20.
enacted, there's a parkland dedication fee or park fee that goes with it, that goes into the town's coffers, basically to be used towards parks in general, not necessarily the park closest to the lot, but just in general. And so, yeah, all the lots in Kennedy Hills have been developed since that's been in place. And so there have been fees coming in from those lots.
Great.
It used to be the developer would give the town park land for a park, and that's taboo now. Now the homeowner pays this park fee when they build their house. We're anywhere in the township now.
Understood. And what is that total that was paid in for Kennedy Hills?
I don't have that in
I-
front of me.
I-
We'd have to get that information from the treasurer, but like I said, it's a formula that was based on how that there is some parkland dedicated in Kennedy Hills, and so it's a formula based on how much parkland was dedicated and how much is required to be, and then in between there somewhere is a number that says how much more money that we collect per lot.
Right.
And the problem is that the subdivision isn't finalized to the point where we have really measured the parkland that was dedicated for sure yet to know if the fees were right or if we have to return some of them.
Understood. So it sounds like I guess, do you have a timeline for what the finalization of that amount might look like?
Good question. We're waiting for him to finalize his first edition.
The developer needs to finalize his improvements there before we'll know that. So when he dedicates all the improvements, which hasn't been done yet, then we'll have that answer.
Understood. Well, I am a resident of Kennedy Hill, so I'm happy to help get on the developer to get his end done for whatever that's worth. But I'd also like to communicate that the outlot that you mentioned that had been dedicated to the town, there's been some conversation to the end of, what the residents of this area, might like to see happen in there. I would call those preliminary at this point. I'm not sure. It sounds like, and again, if I'm jumping ahead too far on the agenda, I apologize, but it sounds like the potential for some sort of dedication of funds to that could potentially be in a future budget, and there could potentially be some kind of planning if, it made sense to even do anything with that lot. As it is, if you recall, it's just a flat kind of field outlot at this point. But I guess my question would be, what would be the best timing and procedure to go through if the residents of this neighborhood wanted to put together some sort of idea of what they might again suggest as some sort of improvement to that park?
Well, if you're talking about the one that would be all the way to the north end,
No, he's talking about the walkway in phase one.
just the walkway.
That part,
green space.
the green space in
Okay.
phase one.
Yep, that's correct. The park area that's kind of circled by a walkway. I think it's maybe 2 acres or so.
Yeah, and our initial plans for that was just for a walking path.
Understood. Is there any, I guess, thought of what it might look like if we were to say, I don't know, again, suggest that there could be something in addition to just a walking path?
We would probably be open to some sort of benches, and they had some, I think, in some stretching and
Oh, yeah.
fitness activities that you could do on some very small equipment that could be put in along that path.
So it sounds like structures that would be kind of a complement to the walking path would be preferable.
Yes.
And I guess, and again, I'm really, this is a preliminary thought here because I haven't really, it's my understanding the neighborhood hasn't really kind of gotten their thoughts together on what they might even like to have in there. But from what I'm hearing is it sounds like maybe some sort of different type of structure. And again, I'm just completely talking out of the blue here. Don't take this as, any kind of suggestion, but any sort of like additional structure, I don't even know, kids equipment, something like that. It doesn't sound like that would be on your radar.
Not at this point yet, because he hasn't dedicated it to us.
Well, in a later phase, there will be a bigger park at the far north end of phase 3.
That's going to be parking.
Well, not all of it all will be, but
It's just American Heritage is their park.
yeah,
Senior Day in Johnson. Just that one lot there, give it up was just for parking lot.
okay.
So that they aren't having to park along American Way.
But then, yeah, they'll have a better way into that park.
Right.
And then the walking path, that was just, something they, residents have been asking for is areas to walk. It's not on the road.
These little fitness installations are actually, there are some that would work for kids. And also interesting to me, there's some that are ADA accessible or would work for people with different mobility challenges. And so actually, to your point about what could go along with the walking path, there might be some things that would be friendly to people of all ages and abilities.
Yeah,
Just looking at this, and so
yeah,
that's kind
so-
of encouraging
Yes.
that it could be designed in kind of a cool way.
Some of that equipment would fit it in with the walking path.
Yeah. Definitely would enhance it. I mean, I hadn't thought about a hand, I don't think I even knew there was such a thing as a hand cycle. Some of it, so. It would be cool. I don't know, Ron, if you've seen this already, but, so.
Well, I appreciate the time and the information that you've given. I think what I would suggest, and again, I don't mean to be sounding like I'm speaking on behalf of the residents here, because I'm certainly not, but I've talked with a few of them, and the general consensus is that again, we'd probably just like to have, some input on it. And again, suggestions, I'm not even sure what those would look like, but my thought would be that if we as a neighborhood can come up with anything that's, reasonable, that we may just pass it on to you and hope we can have more conversation. Does that sound good?
Why don't you send an email to the clerk and I'll have her.
I do have his email.
Oh, okay. You could copy and send him what some of this equipment looks like that you may want or may not want.
And I think the intent of that was more of a fitness area than like a playground area. Was the idea for that park, at least as it was presented by the developer.
Yeah.
In the nature, like,
Yeah.
we weren't gonna mow that whole thing, keep it mowed, we're just gonna do it the path area. And if they
Along
did,
the edge.
yeah, and if they did anything like that along the edge.
I don't mean to digress again, but you just mentioned mowing. What was the comments about mowing, the plan for the upkeep of that?
That most of that area would be only mowed like once a year in the fall. The rest of it, we just mow along the path and keep that open, so then the weeds weren't growing out onto, or the natural
Pathway.
grasses.
Yeah, it's all planted in
It's supposed to be
natural
natural
grasses.
grasses planted in there that's supposed to allow like butterflies and stuff like that come in. We'll see if that grows up, but that's what's supposed to be in there.
Oh, in the center portion you're referring to.
The center portion, yeah.
Oh, very good. Yeah, that'll look real nice. Well, I can tell you that it is growing in nicely. So the plan for that is working, and it is picturesque, I'll say. So, but regardless, again, I appreciate your time and the information. And I will connect with you via email if we have any additional kind of thoughts on that.
Okay.
Thanks, Jared.
So do we want to make any recommendations for 23 parks budget yet, or do we want to meet later this year and go over that in September, early October?
I'll meet anytime.
I think we need to kind of get an idea of what a building would cost before we can really set a budget for next year. I don't know when you guys set the budget for the next year. That's
towards the end of October.
Okay. So, probably a September-ish meeting would make sense then to finalize plans for a budget.
Okay.
Or late August.
Or late August or September.
Okay. We will work on getting a date set later this summer when everybody's available. Anything else?
Awesome. This is very enjoyable. Thanks for having us.
Well, then who wants to make a motion to adjourn?
I move to adjourn 7:58. I'll second.
Motion and a second for adjournment. All in favor signify by saying aye.
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 Opposed? Motion carried. Thank you very much.
Thanks for all the work.
All
you're
right.
doing.
Thank you.
Thanks, Jason.
You want this?
Local government in action.